Ishus v'achborim. These are different kinds of animals. Shemafsidim b'sdei ilon. Mutter litzodom kedarkoi. You're allowed to capture them. Shechayfer gumo v'toyle b'matzuda v'afilu b'sdei alav v'asmuch l'sdei ilon mutter litzodom kedarkon. Now, I would just like to share with you a little bit of my question and answer process in the learning situation. You have over here these rodents, that these rodents are ruining your field or your crop, I don't know, whatever they're doing. They're messing up the stuff. So therefore, we're in Tav Kuf Lamed Zayin Yud Gimel. So you're allowed to catch them to get rid of these pests, okay? Now, you're not catching them to eat them. You're catching them to kill them, to get rid of them, right? They're garbage, right? So you're afilu b'stei lon asmucha l'stei ilon muter litzadon kedarkoi. Why? Sheyetz mimenu mafsidin ha'ilon. Is there any chiddush in that? So why would it say it? Ari, you here? You with me? Why would it say it? It's muvan me'elav. It's not where you're catching them. It's what they're doing. If you had to do it 6 miles away, it would also be mutter. Elamai. I would like to suggest perhaps it has to be nicker, what you're doing it for. So if it's in the field, it's muvan me'elav. If it's not in the field, it's not muvan me'elav. But it's muvan, and that's good enough. Perhaps. All right. Yeah? You okay? Okay. V'mein l'sucha l'stei ilon, ein tzarech oison, ela yedei shinam, you can only do it yedei shinoi, shenoitz ashpud ba'aretz, u'mananei alakon alakon, ad shenas guma v'tele b'hametzuda. You have to do some kind of a shinoi in order to do it. Why?
Is that for
Says the Mishnah Berurah, this is very problematic. Deloi mafsid kula hai b'stei lavan. And therefore you need to do it with a shinoi, because you're only makel to do without a shinoi when it's very necessary. All right. It's
not such a, they're not causing such a big damage.
Right.
Such a big damage, you can't
Right.
do it with that.
If there's no pressing benefit, then it's usher altogether. Okay? Now what malach are you doing? Now, I would like to borrow a question in Hilchos Shabbos. This is right now, it sounds like a trick question. It's not a trick question. I'm asking a very simple question. First the Hakdama. If one puts a pot of food on the fire on Shabbos and it cooks, when is he over a malachas bishul? Anybody want to answer the question? Yehuda. Person puts a pot of food on the fire on Shabbos. When is he over a malachas bishul?
Oh, what answer that?
Shlish.
Okay.
I would say when it actually cooks.
Okay, that's good. I accept both of those answers. Just the question is, how do we define when it actually cooks? But you're not. But what I'm trying to say is, you're not over on mavashal when you put the pot of food on the fire. That's called a havamina. If it ends up cooking, it became a maskana, right? Putting a pot on the fire is no issue deraisa in that.
Until it becomes one.
So 1 second. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Now that was the setup, and here is the tricky question. When I put out a metzuda on Shabbos, and I catch an animal, when was I over on tzad? It's a tricky question.
When you put it out,
The Sefta says only.
depending on the animal. Depending on the trap.
I don't know. You could be a lawyer because I have no idea what you're talking about. When I put my food on the fire, I'm only chayev when it cooks. And when I put out my trap, I'm chayev for setting the trap. I didn't say it wrong. I want you to understand what you said. Right? Is that what you're saying? Okay, can you explain to me why that should be so? In order for you to explain why you have to be so, I have to first introduce to the tzibur your problem, which you didn't say, but I'm going to read your mind. I'm going to do that for a price, not during sheer hours, okay? Because you didn't do anything when the animal was caught, and it has to be that you're chayev, so it must be that this is different than cooking, and you're chayev just for the act of putting it out, right? Did I read your mind? Okay. 5 cents a shot, yeah. Anyways.
Maybe when you put out a trap, you're not going to know when you grab it with your hands, or you actually.
Oh, so you know what you're saying? You disagree with the question. A person puts out a trap, you're not chayav for him. So, I'm willing to accept any answer. But no, you understand the question. The point over here.
I'm learning to.
Okay.
Used to be with muksa in both cases.
Muksa?
The food that's not cooked is muksa maskud foam.
Why?
You can't eat it on Shabbos.
Why can't you not cook food? Did you ever eat an apple?
We're not going to cook an apple.
Why not? What about a carrot?
Yeah, right, okay. And putting down the trap, that's on Shabbos, that's not muksa, the trap itself.
It depends if you're allowed to trap on Shabbos or not. If we come according to him, you're allowed to trap on Shabbos. I don't know.
I'm going to try it. It's their abundance to put out the trap.
What's this darabanan?
You said that if it comes in later, you set up a situation where they get.
What, it's a Shabbos clock? What is this?
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyways.
I would say it's the same thing as Shabbos. Why should that be any different?
What's the same thing as Shabbos?
That means when you put the trap out, you didn't do anything, and when you put the pot on the thing, you didn't do anything. Not until it actually takes place. Are you usher?
Okay, so I want to tell. I'm going to tell you the problem with what you're saying. The problem is that when I put my food on the fire, and I go to work in the morning, and I come back at night, but when I turn the key in, I don't say, maybe I should, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let my endeavors be successful and I find the food cooked. I expect to see the food cooked, right? When I put out my trap and I come back 6 hours later, I say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please let my endeavors be successful, because 60% of the time or 80% of the time you may find absolutely nothing there, right? There is no real connection between putting out the trap and catching anything in a definitive way. Whereas there is between putting your pot on the fire and it cooking. So I could understand that the end act of putting your pot on the fire is it cooking, but I don't see the animal being trapped as an end act of putting out the trap. It's called good luck. You understand the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question which is discussed in the Poskim in Shabbos, and most of them say this idea, Be'etzem, that you're talking out chai for tzad for putting out a trap, unless it's imminent when you're putting it out that the animal's on the way, it's going to go into it or whatever the situation is. But putting out a trap, the classical sense, is not an issur d'oraisa. The end. No, it's such a good question that it's the answer. You know, that's like, just have to change the trup on it. Okay? So now,
Yeah, but really, even with the pot that's out there, you can take it off before it actually boils.
Stop.
Therefore,
Therefore, then, so you shouldn't. You should only be chayav if everything boils.
listen. Yes, it's a good thing you're not here because otherwise you'd probably hit me if we're about to say to you. Okay? If somebody shoots an arrow at somebody else and he kills him, is he chayav misa?
Yes.
Why?
It's chayach.
Okay.
Chayach.
Now you know what could happen. Somebody could have a kippat barzel and knock down the arrow. Right? So it didn't have to happen. So why should he be chayiv?
More likely that it will happen.
Okay. So now what's your question? I put something on the fire, it's going to cook. You know, it doesn't mean, it could be that something could be aborted. But it doesn't mean that it didn't, as I say in Yeshivish, it didn't lig in the oneb maisa. It wasn't implicit in the original action. It has to be undone to change it. Something that is undone to changing, and putting out a trap and something being caught is not undone and being done. It's just a wishful thought. That's all it is. A wishful act, perhaps. Okay, that's the difference.
Isn't this whole tzad, this is not a normal tzad, because it's Eino Tzricha Gufa. Normally tzad is you want what you're catching. Over here you want it away, you want to get rid of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
True.
And yet, we're not being machalik, it's being machmer as if they're all the same.
I would like to quote my wife. There's a Gehenim for the Rabbanans too. Right?
This is the Rabbanan and the Rabbanan and the Rabbanan.
Yeah.
What's the Rabbanan?
This is Chol Hamoed.
Who said Chol Hamoed is a Rabbanan? Now we discussed this. That's
Here you have a hefsid. So he's saying that on the hefsid you need a shinoi, and unless you don't have a shinoi, you can't do this derabbanan.
I would like to share with you something. You learned Beitzah? How many times? You don't have to answer. Right? In the beginning of Beitzah, we discuss teichen of spices that has to be done with the shinoi. Why? It's eichel nefesh. It's only derabbanan. Right? Midrais, according to many Rishonim, you're allowed to do every kind of halacha for eichel nefesh. You're doing it for eichel nefesh. So why did the Rabbanan say that you have to do the shinoi? Like 4 Mishnayos in a row. The first parak on this subject, right? Because a malacha is a malacha is a malacha. Then sometimes we only make with the shinoi. Right? So now...
My question is, it's the whole fact is again the malacha aspect. If it's Eino Tzricha Gufa.
And what about when you're doing a eichel nefesh? It's mutter. Shchikas tavlinim is mutter.
It's still a malachas ochel nefesh.
There's certain ones maybe that need a shinoi. Perhaps what he's trying to say, certain ones need a shinoi, and certain ones don't need a shinoi. And we're saying here that tzad also needs a shinoi, even though...
No, his question is a little bit different. I'll explain to you. When it's against him, I'll even be your friend. But less brera. Okay? When his question is, when you have a malach shein tzricha legufoi, it's not the malacha that's mutter. You're doing something different. That's what you're trying to ask, right? It's not a heter on the malacha. Shchitas tavlinim is the malacha. Just we're saying now it's mutter. When you're doing a malach shein tzricha legufoi, you're doing something totally different. That's his question. Right? What?
When you're doing teichin, when you're not doing trapping.
Right, that's his question. And that's his, that's how I'm giving an example that even if that would be true, and even though, just for your information, many poskim, including possibly the Magen Avram and the Gismaisha, hold that Malach Shein Tzricha Legufoi is also midraisa. It's a machlokes a poskim, that whole issue, how we paskin. But Echshahu, it still would be in place for Chazal to limit it. Okay? Now, let's why.
Same token, in my greenhouse, if I put up a fly paper in a room full of flies, I hope my room wouldn't be like that. But
If you have to put up fly paper, you should be out of business. Right?
if I need it, right?
Yeah, so if you need fly paper, you're out of business, right?
I need it for the simon, not as a thing.
Yeah. So if you put a fly paper, what do you want to say?
Let's say a room would be full of flies and I put a fly paper, then it's almost like psik ratio.
Perhaps. I don't know if it's a psik ratio or not. I can't answer. I'm not familiar enough to answer in the Metzius what that is. But I don't think it's any worse than the poskim are makel for you to close your screen door. Excuse me. To close your window that has a screen behind it. Do people know what I'm talking about? Right? If it's open a crack and you're not worried about catching the fly. Even though the chances are that it's not gonna find the crack to go out.
You gave him the best out.
That also has had to
Yeah.
this.
All right. Anyways, why am I telling all this to you? It's not because I'm bored. There are other reasons. The question over here is, we're saying that when it's not in that situation, then it's mutter with a shinui.
Which situation?
If it's not in the steilon, but right, so then the yesham do steilon asmuchol steilon eno mutter elai de shinui. That if it's next to it, it's not in it. It's only mutter with a shinui. Okay, v'em eno asmuchol steilon also elai de shinui. So what's going on? Why should this be this way? L'chayra, whenever you're doing it, it's always only a drabanan because you're never doing the catching. You're putting out traps. Traps is garnished. Right? That was this whole introduction to get to this point. Traps with putting out traps is nothing. Right? And as Ari would like to add in, it's besides being nothing, it's also Moshe and Tzichel Gufa. It's nothing, right? So, what's the answer? I think the answer goes back to what I said originally. Does it look like it or not look like it? The shinui that you do halachas with in Chol Hamoed sometimes is not like the shinui of Meleches Shabbos, that it takes out of the Meleches Machshavos. You're just doing it in an unnatural way, and therefore we perceive it differently. Right. It's addressing a different issue. Okay, so
For Shabbos, if I take this shpud and I dig it in, it's going to be chofer.
yeah, but it could be a shinui. But there, that shinui would be a shinui that would make it not in the Meleches Machshavos. Here, it's something which make it that you're not doing work in the proper way on Chol Hamoed, which makes it like you're not doing work. In other words, the Isra on Chol Hamoed is to do work. Work, as I'm discussing right now, I mean burning calories. I'm not talking about creative tercha, in that thing. But we encouched it in the malachas. That is the malacha and the tercha. It has to be both of them together, or something that can be separately. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get involved in the bir halacha because I'd rather go further. Okay. Now here we have fascinating question. A person has animals and they need to fertilize the field. So what they do is they make the corral in the field that needs to be fertilized, and then you have free fertilizer distributed on the place by itself. Is there anything wrong with doing that? What do you do?
When on Chol Hamoed?
Yeah. Could a person do that on Shvius?
No.
Don't see anything wrong.
Shvius for sure can't do it.
Im Isabel. The Kavanah.
I'm not going to the bathroom. It's my cow going to the bathroom.
Right.
Shvius, to be mezal.
Am I being mezabel?
Yeah. For Shvius for sure.
Why is that so for sure?
Just say mazal. It's
I implore all those people here to use their brains. Is what a person being mezavo when he has his cows go to, unless you have some kind of a brain link with your cow, right?
Well, it's only if you gader that they're in
He's
this
not being
place.
mezabel, he's acting like a baal bayis and doing something that looks like zibul.
The problem about bias is in your payris.
It looks like zibul, even if it's
What? It looks absolutely not like zibul.
This is,
I don't have my Scotch spreader here.
but,
What am I doing that has to do with
but
zibul?
this is the old school scratch.
Because you moved them from where they were.
1 second. I'm very annoyed. Okay, we today discussed putting out traps. Nobody said you're chai for putting out the trap because that's the way they did it in the olden times.
That was the hobby of the question.
No, but nobody over here said that that's enough because that's the way you do it. Because you didn't do it. It doesn't apply. You know why? Because you didn't do it. All you do is put the traps there.
But here you know they're gonna.
Here, can you repeat the words you just said?
Here you know they're gonna fertilize.
Here you know
They're gonna fertilize you. They're gonna
that
let them sell it.
that they will do something. You have children? Okay, so you have two children. One's name is Ruvain, one's name is Shimon. And they have a little brother whose name is Levi. Okay? Now, Ruvain wants to get Levi in trouble. So he tells Shimon to do something that he knows is going to drive Levi bonkers, and Shimon has absolutely no idea. I don't know if you can imagine such a thing happening, but to ta'el atzuchah, theoretically, there's such a thing happen. And then Levi goes bonkers, and his mother says, Levi, what happened? Who's he going to blame? Both of them, right? Well, who's he going to blame? Shimon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because Shimon did it. Because Reuven was the orchestrator behind the scenes. I brought my cow into here. And it went to the bathroom. Get his credit card number.
Can you push the button to turn the faucets on, the sprinklers on? As watering your field, as malacha is watering your field.
I want to tell you something.
What's
I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
If after the koyach rishon, could be you're not chayav.
Okay, so the koyach rishon of the cow.
What? But it's not going to be mezabel. And you're not doing the koyach rishon. You have no shaykhis. That cow is going to excrete whatever zevel he's going to, with or without you putting him there.
Exactly the problem. So me putting him there, knowing it's a psik rishon, but mechuz.
It's not a psik resh. It has nothing to do with me putting him there.
Okay. What's this?
No. This is incorrect. It's not that the person was mezabel. I want to ask you a question. This is from my favorite questions, and nobody should learn bad things from me. Okay? My phone is on. You notice this side of mine? My phone is over here, and nobody knocked it. It's on rotate. It's on rotate. Somebody is mad at me, so they call my phone, and it falls off. You see a mazik? Is he a mazik? No, because my phone doesn't break. Is he a mazik? Is he a mazik?
Is it grama the runners driving it?
It's not even a grama.
He's a bad guy.
For sure. He's not going to get Olam Haba for this Maisa. Okay? Was he a mazik? Answer.
Not be a dime.
Not be a dime either.
I'm saying it's not even grama.
Grama is when I did something, but it happened with my koyach secondarily.
I put something in the plate.
I don't know the words you said.
I put something in the plate.
I'm not sure I know what those words mean. In other words, if I throw a ball, it hits the wall, and then you play pool. So when the ball goes into the hole, that's called grama. By me, it's a ma'aseh b'yadayim because the white one goes into the hole. But for other people, when the ball goes into the hole, that's a grama.
Oh, that's the right. Okay, now I got things. Okay, fine.
What?
Fine.
This is the second one, not the first.
Right. Now, we all understand that it's my koyach that got it there. How do I know? Because when I don't clean up my laundry, it's still there in the morning, right? We know that what's going on, but that's called the koyach ha'chamurah. That's called grama. I did it, al yidei. That's what grama means. But it's not that it's me physically doing it. But there's it's not direct, I did it indirectly. Here, I didn't do anything. You don't understand that?
I made your phone vibrate. I did. I'm very strong, mighty, and powerful. He says I can even make your phone vibrate. Telecommunications, you're saying, whatever, however phones work or whatever.
Yeah. And I'll show you where you are just lying to yourself because you're used to things, and that's why you think about them in a layman's terms. Lev, what's it called when you tell the lights to turn on or off?
Google or Alexa.
Okay, well, one of these guys. Okay, so I walked into your house and I said, Google, Alexa, and the lights turn on. You told me to say it, I said it. Did I do a malacha? I never heard this before. I walked out of the 18th century into your house. I said, "Will you please read this, what it says over here?" And I turned on the lights, and I turned on the lights. Did I do it? Is that equal to, I said, "Will you press that button?" No, press the button, you understand, you did it. Maybe you're honest, maybe you did it. When I said those magic words, abracadabra, lights go on, right? There it's harder for us to imagine that you did it. Why is that?
I don't know. It connects the circuits, my D-board. I don't know.
Absolutely, your circuits don't connect any D-board.
Okay, there, I'm connecting it right when you push this.
Because I did a maisa. One, you did a maisa. One, all you did is a D-board. And some machine turns that D-board into a maisa. At best, you didn't do anything. Why are you looking at me like I'm strange? I'm telling you what you thought your whole life. Am I saying something strange right now?
At some point when this becomes regular...
It will never be.
Oh.
It's never a maisa. It could be that you'll be chayiv becomes darko to do with the malach like that without a maisa. Maybe there'll be someone invent such a kind of a concept. But it's never a maisa. It's not a maisa.
Because it's people?
Yeah. Yeah.
You clapped your hands and activated the light.
No, but that there's no connection between your clapping your hands and the light going on. A maisa is I physically caused something to happen.
An audio sound is not considered physical.
I don't think that sound is called physical, even though that's a shaila in the Gemara of akima svos of have maisa or not, which is, but in other words, but for malachas, if a toka betoich klis chuchos v'shavrosoi, it's a Gemara, right? Are you chayiv? Is that called a maisa or not? No, we don't have to go to your Google guy, right? This has existed already. We know that cup with the string, and you can feel it, right? But that's question. That's called a maisa. The maisa has halachic gedorim to it. It's not a lack of our technical understanding in halacha. There are hagdaras of what has to be done, and this changes from one situation to the other. In Shabbos it's one way, And then malach is a different way. The Chazon Ish writes, this is a fascinating thing. He says, when I go onto my John Deere tractor and I press gas and it's chayrish, why am I chayiv? I didn't do anything.
There's a physical action. You press something and that turning on a light switch.
So the Chazon Ish says, you see, the problem with you is that you're so used to it that you don't realize what's being said. In other words, I'm going to use this. I'm going to say, a 3-year-old says, "How does a light turn on?" So you say, you press the button. He asked a question, and he got an answer. Your 10-year-old asks, "How does a light turn on?" And you say, "There's electricity." Your 20-year-old says, "How does a light turn on?" And you say, "You connect a wire." 3 different people ask the exact same question. They give 3 different answers. And all of them are correct to their level of understanding, right? They're fully answered questions depending on who's asking the question, right? Okay? So there are things which we see a beginning and an end, and we don't realize that there's a whole process that happens in the middle, even though we know it. But we just take it so for granted that we say that it's enough. And that's not enough. In Nezikin, you need koyach odom. In Shabbos, you don't necessarily need koyach odom. You need darka malach devakach. And the Chazon Ish is right to this. It says, when are you chayiv for winnowing? You throw it up, and what does the malacha?
The wind blows it.
So how can you be chayiv? Why isn't that grama? So this is because that's how you do it. Not only that, I had to go back to like basics. Can anybody here make a seed grow? What happens? You put a seed in the ground, it deteriorates into nothing, and then something sprouts out of it. How could I be chai for zoreh? That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. What's growing isn't even what I planted. How do I know? Because gedulei truma midaraisa don't have the truma. It's something else. You know the joke about the Jewish farmer. He was a milk farmer. So he said, how do you make money? He says, I sell milk. So he says, what do you feed your cow? Milk. He said, if you feed it milk and you sell milk, how do you make money? She said, I feed a cholov stam and I take out cholov yisrael. Obvious way Jews make money, right? Right? But when I put the seed in the ground, what comes out of there is not what I put into the ground. But I'm still chayev because I did what's called the process, and that's the way the malacha works. That is not true in Ezekiel. If I take your seed and I bury it in the ground, and then it would get ruined, perhaps only a grama. But it's not. Halacha doesn't work everything the same. That's why That's why you have so many mesachtas, because what? No, not shinu. Anyways, all I want is this is very.
Bishul insert. Once we're on the topic, why is Bishul putting the pot on the fire and putting the seed in the ground? Are we saying that that's not the same?
Oh, that's a very good question. This question is asked by many achrayim, and there actually is a machlokes about Bishul. But in Zereya, that's all you can do. You're forced out of the picture. So that means that's a complete action. You could hold the pot on the fire the whole time. There's nothing you can do to make their seed grow. You can't. It's a potluck deal. There's nothing to do. What?
You can't do it here. I can continue.
So now you can't do it, and therefore what you did is you did it.
You did it. Here, the guy could have held it the whole time. So
Just because you're lazy and you put it on the fire, it doesn't change that you're not the bailam on what's happening the whole time. You're doing it the whole time. You just got yourself a servant called the chatzuvah. That's my opinion, the simplest answer to the question. But it's asked by the Achreidim, this question. Anyways.
And the question when we were discussing just now about, turning things on, different ways of turning things on, lights and things like that. And the whole, according to some opinions, I understand there's a difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos. I find it very hard, puzzling for me, because I heard Rabbi Yitzchak Breitovitz. He said when he was a boy in the 1960s in Chicago, he was surprised he was in the shul, Orthodox shul, and the Gabbai turned the lights off on Yom Tov. And he investigated, apparently according to one opinion, that was not the same as on Shabbos. It was some kind of heter to do it. So is there other way of opinions that hold such a difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos, even though we don't follow them?
There are differences, but I don't know why it should be permissible to turn off a light on Yom Tov. It's hard for me to understand why that should be. But there are definitely differences. Turning on a light on Yom Tov is only Nisa D'Rabbanan. Turning a light on Shabbos is Nisa D'Oraisa.
So would that affect, like, for example, on Yom Tov, if you could do things by speech, on Shabbos you could, but on Yom Tov perhaps?
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help. It could be such a thing. I'll just quote Rabbi Yankel Fisher, who said this 25 years ago. A man well ahead of his times. Somebody was speaking to him about motion sensors, turning things on, and he said that's called turning out with a shinoi. So, yeah, well, what should be mutter because it's doing the shinoi. So he looked up with him and his sarcastic smile, which I miss very much. He said, "So tell me, how do you do without a shinoi?" Right, you're more modern than the modern, right? Okay, anyways, so I can't hear you. You're not
Fertilizer.
What about? We'll go to the halacha. We're going right now. Back to the case. So now the question is, when a person puts his animals in, is he really fertilizing? No. Then we're going to see he's not fertilizing. But you're involved in the fertilization of your land. So you're implicated. We didn't say you executed, we said you're implicated. That's what's going on over there. You are not doing a malacha. You're not allowed to let them in to be mazal l'sadam. If a guy did it, mutar af b'Shabbos. Even though mazabel is an isur deraisa of zareya. Now we don't say that you did malacha a day a guy, because did anybody fertilize? It wasn't me. I went to the bathroom. It was the cow that used the field, right? Why? Because you're not doing anything. Sechir Shabbos, Sechir Chodesh, Sechir Shana, Messiah Naisa B'chol HaMoed, U'moisim L'Shomer L'Nar Etzayin. So why? Because over here you're not doing it. You're not doing the malacha. There's no malacha being done. You're involved in making sure that you get a favorable benefit from bringing them into this place. But you didn't do any malacha. Now, what does it say? You're not bringing them in b'chol hamoed lezabel hasoda. Let's say I'm bringing them there for another reason, and I know they're going to be mezabel hasoda. Is it mutter? We have two reasons. So we had these kind of halachas beforehand. When a person is doing a malacha, yes. Just last week. So let's see the Mishnah Berurah. So the deer, how should machnisa behemoths l'sod v'sheichus sham balayla, u'metel sesham imakam l'makay shem izdavel es kol asur. They get the whole field all fertilized. L'zabel asada v'av pi she'ena biyadayim mipnei shenira kimizaba ba'atzmoi. It's also why, because why is it? This is the question everybody's waiting for the answer. His question is, why should it be also for me to bring animals into the field to be mazabel it? I didn't do it.
Yeah,
So what?
Yeah, you did.
No, he doesn't.
That's it. It looks like you did, kid.
You didn't do it.
Right, but what everyone says.
I know, it's he's with the peanut gallery. Everybody over here, I have to fight with you people, right?
It's not. We're right.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
We looked at it correct because we look at it like everybody else.
Right, okay? But I don't think you would have understood this Mishnah Berurah without the, right? It's Zemashu Kotov. You didn't do anything. Okay? Mazabel told that the Chayrish of Nesham Yapa Karka L'Zraya boy. This to me is extremely difficult thing. I would have thought that it would maybe be Zereah. And I understand the reason why I didn't want to say it's Zereah is because there's no seeds there yet. But there's a reason why Chayrish could also be Chayv Mishum Zereah. And why do you have to go to be Miyapa the Karka? You could have discussed that you are helping the Karka's growth. But Lo Mishnah, we're not learning Hilchos Shabbos.
Absolutely not to say me up at the karka.
Is this the rice of Chayrish? Miyapa Yipu Karka is that's a Ayim Baramba.
Growth, vegetation,
No.
growth, whatever.
I don't want nothing to do with it, but that's you don't need it. Fa'afilu machzik le'teiva ratzalem afilu b'Shabbos gufa b'yontav yachol ratzalem la'acha acher la'acher yomtov d'bezen le'machzik yischol chamamish mikol mokom hanadavka b'zeh de'enu malacha gemura. Because even the guy is not doing anything, right? The guy again. This whole malacha is a bogious malacha. You're not doing anything. You're just setting up that something should happen automatically. In other words, my mushal, which I'd like to use, is that I had, let's say, the guy come in and set up the hoses that are going to be used when the water is turned on. Did he do any malacha? No, he's just setting it up. Also, the mal the nichle bim lachte shos be shiloi hu adin the yachal liten le bezenes yot guf. Okay, weil das schar acher the shiten le yedu shoy so das is so comes that he's doing it for you. So if he is with shachlas lachol yomim that you hired him as a worker. Vavat shlo yaskiveno retzan lam shlo yom lakum yasek at the chatzchav lachamoy chol shayis etc. Then it comes to yom lachol lo yimsol shemer mevnei shenir kilo sachol akum etchilo l'shem zeh. You're paying him to do this work on Chalamoid. Avshad also afilu b'schirshana v'chein limsol shemer etc. Moisin loy avaliskol shemer b'moyed also afilu b'gain zeh. Even though it's not real malacha, but if you're working it out that he should be part of his setup, then it shows that you're being interested in this happening to a great enough degree that it's usher.